So today we're going to talk about the VCT EMEA teams and introduce you to these teams, something good about them, something that they do well, and something that they can improve on as well. Now, yesterday we did the Pacific team, so go and watch that video if you want to learn about the VCT Pacific teams, and tomorrow we'll do the Americas teams as well. But for now, let's get into EMEA, and we'll start with BBL. So BBL only played one game, that was against DRX, but they have some really nice rounds, like this one, round number 3 here, on Ascent, where they're going to do a little B split here. They actually lose a kill through the smoke there, just a spam from Buzz. But the thing is, BBL have, you see the utilities coming in as we're coming into the site. That actually gets them a kill there from Kushner with the dart. They have some good util usage. They have some good trades and some good fundamentals at times, and they have, the players as well, and kind of the raw aim to be able to win these duels, even against a very good team like the RX. You see here, they take the site, we end up in a 2v2, they put down the Killjoy lockdown, right? This just looks like a really nice little round, especially for a bonus round, right? This is our round 3. And they get a good trade just there. We end up in a 1v1, and Brave will manage to win this 1v1. And obviously they did win this map against DRX, which, we're talking about DRX, talking about one of the best teams in the world, and BBL were able to take this map against them, and it started off with rounds, some good rounds like this one. My problem for BBL, though, is that their Ascent is good, and they could give anyone a game on Ascent. Literally, they're playing against one of the best teams in the world, and they beat them on Ascent. The problem is, the rest of their map pool isn't as good as their Ascent, and this has been a problem for BBL and some of these players for a while now, that, they get destroyed on Pearl. This is an 11-1 half here on Haven. You can't win by doing stuff like that, and I know you're playing against DRX, a very, very good team, probably one of the hardest draws at the start of a tournament, but you're getting, destroyed in some of these halves and on some of these maps, and the map pool, I think, has been a consistent issue for this team. Our next team is Fnatic, and you might not know, but Fnatic actually won the tournament, so they have a lot of good things going for them. Obviously, they are just a pretty good team. Now, coming up for a bad for Fnatic is obviously not too easy, but I think one thing that sometimes they can struggle with, and we saw this at different points of the tournament, is that when you throw something at Fnatic, like a weird team comp or something like that, I think sometimes Boaster can get a little bit flustered, like he did here against Loud on Lotus. Where you'll see in this round, so this is actually the bonus round for Fnatic, right? So it's not the end of the world that they lose it, but you'll see that they just end up kind of seemingly trying to do a million different things at once, right? If we're just going to take a look at the map in this round. So they come and take C, right? They get the ult orb. Okay, Loud come and take A. Completely normal stuff at this point, right? And they decide, okay, let's come back and go and take A. And you can tell that there was problems in this round, and that Mini recognized problems with this round, because even though Fnatic had won the first 2 rounds of this half, they then took a timeout after round 3. So they'd only lost 1 round and they took a timeout. That's how kind of concerning this round was, because they seemed to just leave A, right? Put an alarm bot there and start to come back towards C. But then Boaster, decides, no, okay, let's come and actually push them back off A, because, potentially being worried that they've stacked B and C, which they had. So they come in towards A, they push Aspas off, and they, create a bit of noise here and blast back in, and then send a Prowler, and a Boombot goes in as well, right? And then they start to come back, and now the time is ticking though, right? We've only got 30 seconds left. The Flash actually does see Chronicle out here, and they start to come back towards C, and now you've left Alfia over towards A, and okay, you have actually dragged some rotates over, and you're ready to do the C hit. The problem is, there's only 20 seconds left, and Sadek still has his snake bites, right? So he puts his first snake bite down just there, and there's a nano swarm here as well. And so Durka dies, Leo dies, because they have no time left, right? So they're just trying to maybe do a little bit too much, and now Alfia is left on the other side of the map, no time left, and they end up losing the round. And I think sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes when you throw something weird at Boaster, it might just take them a bit of a while to figure out what you're doing. Okay, Foot. The good for Foot is, and this is, I think, a pretty big advantage, is it looks like they have one of the better Lotuses in the world, to be honest. It looked like that they were one of the better Lotus teams, as you could see here. Felt like they had some nice ideas, felt like, they played pretty well as a team, particularly on this map, and, you're going to see it in the rest of this round as well, where they're trading with each other, they're fighting together, they find these kills, the util's good, in they go, and they beat 100 Thieves here on Lotus, and yeah. This is a pretty big advantage if you can be good at Lotus, because a lot of teams aren't good at Lotus now, and so that's going to give you a pretty big map pool advantage, as it did for them here. One problem I have with Foot sometimes, though, is that I think they can just play a bit too... They can be a bit readable and predictable, I think, at times, right? For instance, here on Haven, on their attack sides, they did a lot of this, right? A lot of 5-stack Group A, or there was a lot of 5-stack Group C, right? And you know, by the end of the half and the game, you know, 100 Thieves I think had kind of I've read this, to be honest. You know, for instance, there's you're gonna see, like, look, we're already starting to kind of figure out this straight away for 100 Thieves. That's kind of what's going, and this is a crucial round in the game because 100 Thieves are actually on a save, and it's 11-11. And 100 Thieves is a nice round by them, right? They go and push short as Foot come in towards A, but I think that they do have these problems sometimes where they are maybe a bit readable. As you see, like, we've already got 4 people over towards A here for 100 Thieves, and so, you know, they're all kind of there already, and they kind of figure it out. And yeah, I'd like to see some more extra layers from Foot, is kind of what I mean, right? As we see the rest of this round play out and they actually cancel the Omenal, I'd like to see, you know, oh, a lurk up B, right, is coming this way, and maybe that gets you a free kill. Or, you know, if you're doing like a C hit, maybe, you know, there's some kind of pressure towards Garage, and, you know, we're even threatening this or we're threatening this. You know, I'd like to see a bit more of that from them. Okay, next up is Giants the Good. I think this is a very good round that Giants had, right? We're fighting as a team. We've got good util usage. We're playing together. We're very structured. We know where we are. We managed to get these kills just there. And yeah, this is just a nice round. They then pause and kind of, you know, take their time, and that makes NRG a bit confused. And this is their bonus round as well, right? So they put down this smoke that forces out the drone here from Crashies. You can see it just coming down there, but they just pause. They don't kind of, you know, go in towards the drone or anything. They just let it see nothing, right? And that makes them worry about the rest of the map. So Crashies has to come all the way over towards C, but, you know, they just pause, and they will end up going back towards A. And actually, NRG take a bit of a gamble here, I think, hoping that they kind of go towards C, as the dog is just going to get shot here. But again, the dog, you know, isn't going to know if that's 1 person or 4. Obviously, it's 4, so I think they take a bit of a gamble that it's C, but in fact, it's not. It is going to be an A hit, and NRG have to end up saving. As you can see, they've kind of made their call to just go and save there. So a nice round by Giants, and yeah, they play as a team, structured, seem to know what they're doing a lot of the time, have some good players. Yeah, just a solid team. My problem for Giants is potentially this, where we're now on Icebox against NRG, and during this whole game, and this is not a joke, during this whole game, not one player from Giants ever went through mid attack. Never one. Not one lurk, not one, you know, mid push, nothing. I know it's mid on Icebox, but that is extreme, right? To never, ever have that. And it leads to situations like this where, you know, basically Giants on this map, they 5-stack, they go to a site, right? That's how they play Icebox. And so Artist didn't hear anything early, so he's pushed all the way down A. And you would think, hey, we're in a 4v4, right? There's going to be some gaps. The Killjoy is dead as well, which means the Killjoy turret is down, right? If someone had lurked through mid, this would be a great time. You'd think Crashies would have to maybe check for that, you know, maybe someone snuck up tube or something. But he's not worried about that because he knows that they haven't done this the whole game, so, you know, they aren't going to do it now, and if they do, we're just in trouble. So he actually comes all the way back to kind of support here, and you know, feels free to rotate and help out his team as we're in this 4v4 instead of having to check mid at all. And he actually goes and ults there, and yeah, we end up in just a pretty bad spot, pretty rough spot here for Giants, who are now trapped in as well. They lose the spike, and they're going to lose this round. And sometimes I think this is almost a detriment of, like, they almost play too structured. You know, they kind of have their ideas for a map, and maybe they just get a bit lost in it because, you know, this is something I think G2 had a bit as well, where, you know, sometimes I think they could be a little predictable, and you see the NRG, by this point, it looks like have kind of figured it out, and they managed to win this game. Okay, Karmine Corp. The good for Karmine Corp is that they have some very talented players. You might have heard of this NaVi guy. He's pretty good at this operating thing, as you will see in this round. And they had different moments where, you know, different players would step up and you know, shown that they are capable to just kind of win rounds on their own, right? And do some really nice stuff. And it wasn't just Scream and NaVi as well. Some of the other players would chip in as well. Some of the less knowns, particularly Shin, had a pretty decent tournament and had some nice rounds as well. But yeah, this is a good thing for Karmine, because I think as a starting building block, you need to be able to have kind of the firepower. You need to be able to kind of have, you know, that level of performance. And, you know, if Scream and NaVi can carry on, you're going to see, even though this round starts to go a bit wrong, NaVi is going to manage to get a kill. He then manages to get out as well, avoid that stun just there. And get another kill just there, right? Really, really good stuff. You end up in a 3v1, and they will win this round, Karmine. So, yeah, this is like an example of, like, you know, some of the positives for Karmine, where you definitely could see them doing pretty well. This is a nice little camera from XMS, figuring out where Tui's is, right? They put the wall up to him, so now he's just in a terrible spot. put the cage up as well, right? And just basically say you've got no way of winning this round. They play it nice and disciplined. They even have the Cove up there as well. Swing together. Really nice round from Karmine. The problem for Karmine, and you can go and watch Sideshow's multi-series on the problems of Karmine Corp, but I'm going to point out this, which I think was perhaps kind of, in my opinion, like the biggest mistakes they were making, because this is, you know, this is something that is kind of pre-planned in a way. This is their anti-bonus round, okay? So they've lost the pistol, they've lost the second round. This is their buy for the third round, right? So we got 2 rifles light shields here, a Guardian light shields with missing a flash as well, a Guardian full shield, and a Sheriff full shields. Why? Why are we doing this? I mean, this is just absolute madness. And yeah, if you want to know about all the problems Karmine had, go and watch Sideshow's, you know, multi-series documentary about it if you want, because it is quite a funny watch. But yeah, this, I think, I just don't get it. Okay, moving on to NaVi, and we all know NaVi are a good team. I don't need to show you any rounds or whatever. They are a good team, and yes, they did lose 3-0 to Fnatic, but 2 of these maps were 13-11, right? You change like 1 kill, and very easily, maybe they win this. They win this game, right? Because 1 kill can sometimes be the difference in a round. You know, maybe you win a 1v1 clutch or something instead of losing it, and then all of a sudden you're winning the game instead of losing it. Yeah, so don't be too off-put. The NaVi lost 3-0. Really, 2 of these maps were very close, so they aren't that far away. They very easily could have won this game on a different day. And I also think they trolled the map veto by not picking Ascent and picking Lotus as their first map, which meant that they had to play defense side Lotus because they don't know how to defend on Lotus. My problem for NaVi is going to be just that they don't know how to defend on Lotus. They lost 10-2 here to Fnatic on their defense side, and I think when they played Crew, they lost 9-3 as well on the defense side, so clearly, this is something to work for, and obviously they aren't the only team that doesn't know how to defend Lotus. In fact, I would say pretty much every team doesn't quite have the answers yet. It's a very tricky map to defend. There's a lot of things that can go wrong for the defenders. But yeah, clearly this is something that they need to work on. I mean, with both Fnatic and NaVi, I'm really kind of just, you know, really having to search and nitpick for things that they do wrong, because they are both, of course, really just excellent teams. Okay, now let's come to Heretics. And Heretics as a team, well, they can have moments like they did in this round where they have a lot of talent. They have some really, really talented players who can do some stuff that, you know, maybe other teams don't quite have those players, right? Like Kellogg's just going crazy and popping off there, finding a 4K from behind that box shouldn't really be possible, but he does it. You know, they have this in them, and it's not just Kellogg's either, right? From time to time, you'll see, and we have seen in the past, you know, players like Zeke and Avova and Mixwell, you know, have maps where they just pop off, right? And that can be the case. The problem for Heretics is their consistency, though, because Kellogg's popped off in the first half of this map and then got like 2 kills in the rest of the game, and this is the anti-bonus here, and they even get the first kill, but they're gonna lose this round because it's just maybe a bit disjointed at times here, and, you know, even though we have pretty good control, like Avova dies there, and then we can't quite get that trade. That's probably a trade that you kind of have, to be honest. Then BCJ managed to get that kill as well, and even though we're gonna get it back into a 3v3, right, Kellogg's is gonna come behind and manage to get BCJ just there, so we're back into a 3v3, but again, Com's gonna manage to win this fight just here, and, you know, he's getting away with murder there, and then the focus on him, so Boostio gets that one, and then Kellogg's is in a really bad spot, and they lose against the bonus round here. And this, I think, is the thing for Heretics is, yeah, they can have some really, like, good moments, but the consistency, I worry about the consistency of some of their players, and some of the times that, you know, if it's not going right, it can fall apart. Okay, moving on to Koi, and we're going to see part of the good and bad of Koi, I think, in this round. Starting off with the good, they have some nice ideas, right? This is a really nice idea for Wolfen, going destroying the turret really early on, right? Create some difficulties. You see the snake bite goes onto the platform there as well, right? It's quite nice. The next thing is they are a Coldamenta Barbar-led team, so they are going to play it very slow, you know, quite passive overall. That's going to be the way that they play. And for 3 of their players, Trex, Coldamenta obviously, and Shados as well, I would put in there. They have played either on other teams like Shados with Mech, you know, in a similar style where they can play quite slow in general. But for Stogso and for Wolfen in particular, you know, I don't think that those 2 will be super used to this style, and I actually think that this could be a bit of a problem. We did see it rear its head a bit at times with Wolfen in particular at this tournament, where they even get this first kill, right? They punish artists. This is kind of the old guild way, right? The new Koi way, let's say, where we're punishing you for being aggressive. But then Wolfen, you know, kind of wants to go off on his own, and he tries to go for another kill, and he dies, and there's no trade available. And that's maybe not the worst example of it, but that happened to Koi, you know, just a couple, many 2 times. And then obviously time pressure is a thing that comes up a lot with the old guild and now Koi, that, you know, they can play very, very slow, and it can get pretty dicey pretty quick in a lot of these rounds as the time really starts to tick down. And this one is no different, where they put up the wall, but in come these nano swarms, and all of a sudden Trex is in, you know, a bit of trouble. He does manage to get the spike down, but then again, we'll come back to the good of Koi, where, you know, they have really good players. And Trex is just going to absolutely pop off here, as you'll see in just a second. He's just going to manage to get 3 kills. We can take a look at the minimap version instead, because we aren't actually going to see it on the broadcast. But yeah, he's just going to come up on here on top of the box and just start absolutely just nailing everyone and just destroying everyone here. Kind of on his own as well, right? There's 1, there's 2, there's a third. Like, yeah, just kind of on his own, he just absolutely destroys them. And then Starkso, not giving them anything either, right, to Victor here, not giving him a 1v1 and a 4v1, you know, just waiting for kind of the cavalry to arrive, and Coldamenta mops it up. And it's a really nice round on the whole by Koi. They do, I think, you know, the slow play style maybe is a little too slow for my liking, but okay, fair enough, that's how they play, whatever. But I do think, particularly with Wolfen and maybe Starkso a bit as well, there could be, you know, some early issues, at least, you know, not impossible to solve, but just early issues of getting everyone on that same page, getting used to that super slow playstyle. Okay, Team Liquid, let's talk about the bad first, because there's a lot of rounds I could pick, but I've just picked the funny one, to be honest. I think that this is probably the funniest thing that happened. You'll see it in just a second. It is just kind of funny, but it is just kind of, you know, it's just a save round. It doesn't matter that much that it happens, but this stun is going to come out here, right? And so both Yampi and Redgar are going to get hit by the stun, but Yampi blast backs Redgar forward into Team Secret whilst he's escaping. I just thought this was like I mean, it's just funny, right? I mean, this one is just categorically a pretty funny thing that happened, and Yampi dies there as well. Now, the positive for Team Liquid is that they still have really good players, right? These players didn't become bad players overnight, and they still have those good players. And so even if they had a bad tournament, even if they have, you know, quite a few things to work on, you know, they've still got good players. And, you know, you don't lose that. And you don't become bad players overnight. So there's still, yeah, sure, they've still got things to fix. And even in this round, things don't go great, right? They actually they're actually in a 3v5, but Nats just saves them. Right, Nats just saves them, and it's the thing. They have good players, and so, you know, you might be like, oh, this wouldn't happen all the time, but with the caliber of players they've got, it probably can happen quite often, to be fair, because with so many different people being able to kind of pop off and whatnot, yeah, I think, you know, overall, things can still go good. And you see here in the 3v1, right, they don't rush it, they take their time, they kind of wait to kind of figure this out, right? This is actually, you know, quite nice in the 3v1, playing it, you know, pretty passive overall, not getting too ahead of yourself, right? Just bleeding out the time, playing as a 3 rather than you know, taking a bunch of 1v1s. Wait for the spike to start to go down. Nats gets a 4K and they win the round. Okay, moving on to Vitality, and if you weren't following the EMEA scene pretty closely, I would say, last year, then you probably looked at the names of this Vitality team and you were like, I know Bone Cold, he won champs with Ascend an age ago. You know, the first champs, that was a long time ago. Who are the rest? Who are these guys, right? But the thing is, if you did watch EMEA closely last year, you'll know that particularly Twiston and Malsey are players that are good enough to play for like the very best teams. Like, I'm being genuinely serious. They could play for any team, and they would not look out of place. And Destrian and Sender and Bone Cold as well are all very good players in their own right. I mean, Bone Cold did win champs as an IGL, so you must be doing, you know, something right. And yeah, they've just got some good players, and I think we saw that. And I think most people who, you know, maybe weren't super familiar with Vitality probably came away from it being like, oh, Vitality, they look pretty good, right? And they have a good coach as well. I like what Salah does, and I think he was pretty good with Oglu. And yeah, I think that they just are a fairly good team, with good players, with good talent, and with some good ideas as well. Maybe this isn't like the best ideas round that they have. They just go for an A hit, but they had some really quirky ideas in this round, or later in this game, I should say, as well. And yeah, they were just pretty good. They actually end up back in a 5v4, but Destrian wins that fight just there. We're going to win this fight just here. And, if you do end up peeking into them like this, Molzy and Twiston in particular will punish you for it, and they will win the round. My problem for Vitality is that they aren't that experienced at the top level, right? Other than Bone Cold, who obviously has won champs, everyone else on their team is relatively unknown if you weren't, super closely following EMEA, and there is a reason for that. And I think maybe not on this map, although this was a horrific start to this game against Leviathan, where Mazzino sticks the spike in a 2v4 on the pistol round, and they lose the round because of it. Obviously that wasn't a great start, but then they also got destroyed on Pearl, and I do kind of worry. My worry for Vitality would be the mental game, right? That when things start going bad, they don't kind of have that experience to lean back on of, oh, we've been here before, and, we know we can come back from this. And so, for instance, they started to lose pretty badly on Pearl, and then just got it, there was never any comeback chance against Leviathan, where they just got destroyed. Okay, now let's come to the ranking of these teams, and we'll start actually at the top, because the top isn't going to be any surprise. I'm going to put NaVi and Fnatic 1 and 2, but I am actually going to put NaVi at number 1. I suspect what's going to happen in EMEA is I think NaVi and Fnatic will probably both lose one game that isn't against each other, and then it'll come down. I think it might be the last week that NaVi and Fnatic play each other, and then, they play each other, and I'm going to say that NaVi win. To be honest, there isn't a massive difference between first and second, the way it works. The difference between second and third is pretty massive, but the difference between 1 and 2 actually isn't that big, so it wouldn't be a bad thing for Fnatic even to come second, to be honest. But then I think you have the rest, right? And the rest, from 3 to 10, you could argue for a lot of different combinations and possibilities. And in fact, I think most of you in the comments would probably have slightly different lists from each other, right? I think it would be difficult to actually agree on this. But let's start at number 10. At number 10, I'm going to put BBL. And by the way, I think EMEA, maybe unlike some of the other leagues, I think bottom place in EMEA, I could see a lot of ties where it comes down to tiebreakers kind of thing. I think everyone in EMEA will probably at least win 2 games, if not 3. Because I think it's very, very close between the rest of these teams. And I think a lot of these teams have very good players, but might be inconsistent teams at times. And so, it's kind of one of those things where anyone could beat anyone on a given day. That's how I see EMEA working out. But I'll put BBL at the bottom just because of their map pool problems. I just need to see that they can be better and give teams a good game other than on Ascent. Right? Because if you're playing BBL, just ban Ascent and you'll probably win. It feels like to me right now. So that's what I need to see from BBL. In 9th place, I'm going to put Team Heretics. And it's kind of the same thing, but not quite a map pool issue, but just kind of a player consistency issue where, yeah, Kellogg's can pop off for a half and maybe a map and win you a map. He could win you a map on his own, but he could also be, bottom fragging, doing nothing, and not giving you any value and lose you a map as well, right? And I do think that as a team, they have some players, like I've seen Avova pop off sometimes, but also he'll sometimes, not have a great game as well. They're just an inconsistent team. I think they have got a team of players who, if everything's going right, could they finish 4th? Yeah. But I do think if everything isn't going right, could they finish 9th, 10th? Yeah. In 8th place, I'm going to put Karmine. The reason for this is they're kind of like Heretics to me, where it's the same thing of just a consistency issue. Again, could Karmine on their best day beat pretty much any of these other teams? Yep, absolutely, right? Wouldn't be surprised whatsoever. But could they lose to any of these teams? Yep, absolutely. And on their worst days, they might lose to some tier 2 teams as well. And 7th, I'm going to put Foot. The reason is because, and I do think that this could be very close for this, but I guess have a bit more faith in some of the other teams, consistency-wise, kind of again. I would expect Foot to be a pretty big challenger, and I wouldn't be shocked if they made playoffs at all. But yeah, maybe I just need to maybe see a bit more before I am a full believer. In 6th place, I'm going to actually put Team Liquid. The reason I'm going to do that is because I think early on, Team Liquid still could struggle, right? I don't know if you saw the interview that Safe had with, I think it was Tom. But the way he was talking was kind of like, yeah, we know it was really bad. he said he wasn't so surprised that they played that bad, which is a bit of a red flag as well. And I think they have some things to figure out. I think by the end of the split, maybe they have figured it out, right? And they get to where they need to be. Maybe it's role changes, maybe whatever it is, right? Just figuring out what the best way forward is. Maybe they figured it out. But I wouldn't be shocked if they did maybe struggle early and did, find themselves, needing to win the last couple of games to make it. But then I have faith in their players and coaches and whatnot to, be able to figure it out with enough time to potentially get there. Coming in at number 5, I'm going to put Vitality, and really this doesn't have as much to do with Vitality as it does with the other teams, because arguably Vitality did look the best out of these kind of 3 remaining teams at the lock-in tournament. But I think Vitality, again, they could be a bit up and down at times, and I think that this will be very, very close. Really, though, it has more to do with Giants. I'm going to put Giants 4 because Giants just, like, you might be like, that seems a bit high for Giants, but that kind of is Giants. They're going to finish, I think, just higher than everyone expects and then not do that well in playoffs. That's who I could see Giants beating these when I'm talking about these teams who are inconsistent, maybe down towards the bottom. Giants are the team that aren't going to lose to them. Giants will just pick up that win. Because that's kind of who Giants are. That's kind of who G2 were before as well. And they've got the same coaching. And that's kind of how I just see it. But then third, I have Koi. The reason I've got third Koi is they got a good team. A really good team, in my opinion. They got a good coach. Good IGL. I think they're just a good team. Yeah, they ran into NRG first up. Gave them a decent game on Icebox. And actually, the Haven game wasn't maybe as one-sided as you'd think either. I think it was like 13-9. So, yeah, Koi, they got a bad matchup. They were the first game, so you might have forgotten Koi even existing. But they've got a really good team. And I just kind of believe with extra time now as well to kind of prepare for these early games, I just am a Koi believer. So that's my ranking for EMEA. I'll be interested to see what you guys think in the comments down below. We have Americas coming tomorrow, so stay tuned for that. And I will see you tomorrow with the Americas ranking.